In this video, we're going to explore how you can make a very unique line chart. As you can see, this line chart is very unique. We removed everything, we created a proper design, and I'm matching here with the text. You can see that this here and that here will start to change. If we select these here, and you can see the cans are starting to change as well. The moment we click on any can, everything will jump up and it becomes extremely exciting. And this is a new and more innovative way to create a far more better chart experience and create more interactivity with your visitor or viewer. And this is one of the very exciting parts, and there's so much more that we can do, but I hope you're already excited to learn how to do this right now. To start with off, we will start with a blank template here. Basically, the template or the HTML file has only some basics. I'll be using CSS, JavaScript, and Chart.JS as a library. And first of all, let's start to work on the structure here. So for this here, the root, we have a color command here, this is our hex code we're going to use, which is for Costa Coffee. This is their Costa Coffee red logo of a color that we're going to use. All right. So the first thing what we're going to do in here is we're going to put in here a section, and this section will contain a div, and this div will be called ChartBox. So we have here a class of ChartBox, and in here we're going to put in the chart. So another thing what we're going to do in here is we're going to give another div, and this div will be imageimg, where we're going to put in the image of the Costa Coffee can that we're going to use. And in the description you can find the download the files. Alright, so we have these two divs here, and after we're going to assign them a proper CSS. And I'm using section tag here because these two are directly connected to each other. And the reason why is the following. We're going to use this very soon, and that will be in one of the other videos. We're going deeper in how we can use this and create a legend out of here without using the standard legend of Chart.JS. Chart.JS legend is beautiful, but not really that interactive and appealing for most viewers or most visitors. So that's what we're going to do later on. So then we have another section here, and in this section we're going to use here another div, and this div will contain the it will be the class, and this will be the slider or the thumbnail. So I say thumb class, and in here we have a unordered list, and within the unordered list we have a list item. And in this list item, we have the images, which is the source, and then we have here the image name. So what is the image name? It's called thumb1.png. And then we will make 3 of those items. So we have this, thumb1, 2, and 3. And all of these are downloadable in the file. Oh, before I do this, I put them in a file called image file, so image folder. So make sure you put in this. If you follow along with me, exactly the same. Put all these images in the image folder or img folder. So we have this now, and all of these files can be downloaded. There's a Google Drive in the description. There's a Google Drive link in the description box. All right, so we have this now. Then we just save this for now and refresh. You can see here we have 3 different coffee cans here. Beautiful. It shows here, but there's nothing more, so it's time for some CSS. And the reason why I'm using CSS instead of using Bootstrap is I noticed that Bootstrap doesn't use a lot of the new functions that CSS really has. You can do very much with CSS. So I decided it's time to learn and improve my CSS skills as well along the way. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in here the div for the chart. So there will be the chart box here, and besides it we will put in the image, or we can put that image here as well. We can just copy this. We say here image, and this will be a img one. So we save this, refresh. We have one large can here, and you can see here we have the 3 cans that we'll be using for a slider. So this one needs to be eventually on the side with the Chart.js in here. So we need to open up a chart. So I need to open a browser. And you're going to get also the canvas ID here and the Chart.js library. So what we're going to do first is let's put in the Chart.JS library, I already opened up the site. It's called ChartJS.org. And what we're going to use here is the getting started button. Press on that. Once you press on that, you can see here below all the items we need. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this text here, and we're going to convert this to a line chart. We're going to put this first below here because this is all JavaScript file or all JavaScript code. So once we paste that chunk of code, we're going to remove this or move this to the right location. So we go back here, we go to the chart box, and there we are. We're going to put it in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove the width and the height here, but we're going to adjust this later on. So we can save that, that's alright, but we don't need this yet because what we need to do more is we need to add up the JavaScript library. So once you click here and then we click on getting started, and getting started here, we'll open up the Chart.js library link in the CDN. I'm going to copy this one. And once I copy that, paste this in here, make sure you paste this above your JavaScript command that is related to Chart.js. Alright, so once we have this, what I want to do here first is to fix this box in a, or this chart canvas in a specific size. So what I'm going to do is here the chart box, we're going to give this a class here in CSS, ChartBox, capital B. And then in here, we're going to say max width. Let's say 500 pixels. So it's flexible up till 500 pixels. That should be more than enough. Once we save this, go back to our browser or our file, and then we have this here. Oh, let's see, there you are. As you can see, we refresh it, it loads, and then it shows here a bar chart. Why is the bar? Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain. Let's scroll down here to the JavaScript. And in here, we have to first adjust a few things. So I'm going to do a few things that we can adjust. First of all, adjust the variable to constant. This is a more practical way right now to write JavaScript. We can remove this if you want. Is it necessary? Yes or no? Doesn't matter. I'll just remove it for now so you can see. And next here, the type. We are creating a line chart, so we're going to select type as line. Once we did that, we have here the data sets. We have all of these background colors here, which is connected to this. But if we save this, you will see the line chart has like points here, and we don't want this. We want to fix those as well. Let's remove all of this. I'm going to remove all the excess code here, and then we have a background color. We're going to make this specifically white. So what we can do here is, let's say here FFF, and the border color will be the one that we assign. So what we're going to do is we scroll up here. We have here the color code, the hex code, and going to select this here for now. So once we did that, save this and refresh. Alright, so we have now our matching border color. And you can see here everything works. Beautiful. So what are we going to do now is the following. What we're going to do is we're going to start to work on the CSS for now. And after we're going to fine tune our JavaScript so that the line chart will look far more appealing. Alright, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to say here in the section, because it's the section covering this, let me say the section is a flex. So say display flex for flexbox. So once we do that, now they are besides the other. Alright, that's nice. And then we have here a chart box. That's fine, we will leave this for now. And then what we want to do is here is the image box. So what we can do here maybe is to type in section chart box. And then we have another one, section .img box, and here we can do exactly the same. Max width, there you are, and then probably here in this case we should have a better height. So we say here max height. Oh, sorry, this should be max height. Yes, delete that, save this, refresh. Apparently max height is not working here, of course, because this is not overruling the image. So what we can do here is, first of all, we do this max width, and then we have the image. So we can say here image and image. Of course, we have two things here. What we have to do here, we say dot image box image, and then here we will indicate the max height of 500 pixels. Once we did that, that starts to look far more better. And the reason why I don't use only image, because I realized we have another image as well here below, and then we create conflict. So we have here a max width, and I assume here we can do not only a max width but a min width. So probably this could be 500 pixels as well. So it's not that mobile friendly, but that's fine for now. And then what I do want to do here is I want to create a padding here. So basically the max width can be removed here, there's no need. That's fine here. It's already set. So what we can do now here is the following. We're going to set here a padding of 10 pixels. Save. There you are. So we move a bit to the side here. That works beautifully. All right. So the next thing what we want to do is we want to make this here aligned so that they are beside each other. So to do this, we have to go here and we check here the section, and then we see here it's the thumb. So we have to work here within the thumb. So we're going to give this a CSS code. Then in here we have the div.thumb. That's in this case our class here, thumb. And what we can even do is, I guess we can even pinpoint this one immediately. We can say here unordered list, and in the unordered list we'll say the following. We say display will be flex, and then once we save this and refresh, we can see now we're beside each other. All right. Then what we can do here is the following. Is a ULLI for list in line, and then we say here list style, we say none. Why none? Because we want to remove any dot if ever. You can see here we have these dots here. We want to remove them. Once we refresh that, there you are. That works nicely. And then what we still want to do here is just give it maybe a padding or a margin right. And then we say here 10 pixels. There you are. So we have this, and probably here what we can do here, just to put this a bit more appealing, we will just put some padding between here as well. We say here padding 10 pixels as well. Alright, so now it's here, and now what we want to do is the following. We're going to say here, what we want to do is the moment we hover over it, we should have our mouse should convert into a pointer. So we can say that as well. We say here cursor, pointer. We save that. Now as you can see, now it's converted. The next thing what I want to do is when we hover over it, we should be able to see this stuff jump up. So we say here transition. So we say transition, and then we say here 0.5 seconds. So that means that we will have a transition of 0.5 seconds the moment there's a hover. Alright, but then of course this will match with our command here. We say here ULLI, and then we say here hover, and within here we'll say here transform, and then here we can say translate Y. And the reason why I do Y is that it will jump up. So we say here minus 15 pixels, and if we save this and refresh, and now we can see here it starts to jump up beautifully. And you can adjust this, you can reduce or increase the speed of this as well. For now, this is more than enough. So we have this here. So what do we need more? Well, we have this here. What we can do now is start to adjust the side here. So for adjust the canvas here, and then later on we can put in here some text with the legend. So what we're going to do here is in our Chart.JS, we're going to select here. Now I'm going to adjust the border width. We say the border width will be 5 pixels now. If you refresh here, and you can see now it's become thicker. But what we want to do as well is, besides the border width, you can see here the moment we hover over it, or the point radius right now is only 1 pixel. So we want to say here, comma, point radius 5 pixels. Oh, 5. Save that, refresh. Now we have this 5. And then if we hover over it, you can see still we get some effects here. And what happened is basically the border is becoming only 1 pixel here on hover. So that's what we're going to adjust as well. So we say here, point, let's double check here to make sure. We're going to the chart types line. And then what we want to do here, let's see here, is there a configuration? Oh, there it is. They say here hover border. Well, we need probably this point hover border color. No, we want the point hover border width. And this is a number where we can say the width of our point hover border. Basically the point radius the moment we hover over it. So we say here 5 pixels, so it's fixed 5, and then go back here, refresh, and now if you hover over it, well, as you can see, there is still a slightly adjustment. So let's double check if we need to put this maybe in a higher amount. Save this, refresh, and you can see still this does not work. Point border width is 5. Then of course, that's what I realized, not only the point border width, but the point hover radius. So let me double check what is the exact name for that. Point radius, point hover radius. Alright, point hover radius. And that will be 5 as well. Refresh. And now you can see as we hover over it, it doesn't adjust. And let me increase the size. I realize that we can increase the size to a minimum width of 800 probably. There you are, that's more than enough. And it looks quite nice, beautiful. As you can see here, we have this, but of course later on we have some text here, so we must probably adjust this to 700. That would be probably better. There you are. And we have space for the text here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we have this here. What we want to do here is let's reduce the size of this a little bit, and then we can put some text besides. And this text will be eventually matching with certain items of the legend here, because this legend eventually can be removed. So what we're going to do here is, well, first of all, I figured out we should remove the grid lines. I do want to remove the grid lines here. So we have the scales here. And then what we do is here, comma, and we say grid. Sorry. And here, display false. Once we do that, we remove the Y grids, or basically the grids on the Y scale, meaning these here. So don't get confused, because you say, well, this is horizontal instead of vertical. You might expect these. No, it is the one that's connected to the Y axis. Alright, so this is the Y axis here on the scales. So the same we will do with the X axis. So we say here, comma, or maybe what we can do to make it in the proper order. We will say the following. We say here X axis, and then we say here grid. Then we say false, and then we put a comma here. We save this, refresh. Oh, sorry, grid. Of course, display false. Display false. And once we did that, we should have this accordingly. Just make sure that we have enough curly brackets here, or curly braces. Yes, there you are. So now we have this, we remove them, that looks slightly better. So we have a nice one. We can even remove all of this. Would it be useful? Depends, because it will be hard to figure out what's the values unless you hover over it. But you can do nice designs on this. And if you want to remove it, it's in the scales itself. So we can say in the scales, display, let me say none, or false. Apparently there's some items, I will check that later on, but that's alright. For now, that is alright. Or probably it's in here, sorry, this is it. We say here display false immediately. And the reason why is, this is the x-axis already. You pinpoint the x-axis, but then if you don't want the x-axis, you will do grid. So that's what we did, and if you do this, there you are. So that looks nice. We can do the same story here, display, and then we say here false. And this doesn't work because we forgot a comma here. And then refresh. There we are. So as you can see, you can do something with it, but it's hard to do with it right now because you will have less visual. You don't know exactly what. But for now, it's fine. We'll leave that. We have here the coffee can. All right, and besides that, we want to have like some basic details, which is, for example, the name of the values here. All right, so to do this, we're going to create first a basic text here, or a paragraph between here. We say here P, all right, for the paragraph, and in this paragraph, we will say here, let's say this is our default, the coffee can, this is straightforward. So this is Costa Espresso. So we say here, Costa Espresso. All right. So once we have that, you can see here we have this text here below. You can say here, class img text. All right. And then what we're going to do here is dot img text, or let's put this in the proper place. We say here dot image box. Then we have that, and then we have the image text, and then in here we can say text align center. There you are. So we just put it in the center. So now we have this. What we can do, of course, now is we can put in a few items here. But what we want to do is we have this here, the Costa Espresso. This would be matching with this. We can adjust this label here, or we just remove this eventually, because this might not be very useful here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the legend. So we say here, we have the skills, make sure this is it. All right, so comma. Then we say here plugins. And in the plugins, because this is new from Chart.JS 3, we have the plugins. And in the plugins, we say legend. And then legend, we say display. And we say false. All right, so let's refresh that. There you are. So now we have this. So we have this part here, and this should be specifically with the, for Costa Espresso. All right. So what we want to do now is that when we click on this, the values here change, and also the can here should match. So basically, what happens is this is becoming a legend or a visual representation. Sorry, visual representation of the legend. And this is a other way of looking at Chart.js, because now you're working outside of the box, because most people who use the legend of Chart.js are not that satisfied because it's not that exciting. So with this, you can create a far more visual and interactive display. All right, so that's what we're going to do here. So first thing what we're going to do here, we're going to create a few items here. We're going to create a function, and this function will be, when we click on this, the label, or sorry, the information here, or the data will change, and the label, depending on what it is. So if you click here, this would be Costa Espresso, this would be Costa, I'm not sure what this is, a latte if I'm seeing it here, and this is vanilla latte. So we have three different options here. All right. So what we're going to do here, we say here function. Then we say change chart, and in this change chart, we're going to change the data here. And what we're going to do here is the following. What are we going to get? We can do color as well, not that really necessary. And I have other videos regarding to color, but I will say here label. We have the label, which is the text, and then we have the data. So those are the items we're going to use, and these are the parameters that we have. So what we're going to do here is the following. So first of all, we want to adjust a certain item. So for example, if you want to adjust the label here, we could put that in here. Yes. So we say here my chart data sets, and this is a array. So array would mean index 0. Remember that. So this is index 0 because this is the first data set in the array, or first element, which is the index number 0. All right. So we have my chart data sets label, and then we can adjust this here. So if we would have the legend, you will see this will change. So I'm going to show you later again how once we change that. So let's get this my chart first. Put it in here, and then we say in my chart we go to data, and then we go to data sets. Remember array 0 or index 0, sorry. And then here we will say label. And this label, the name of this label will be equal to value of label. Very straightforward. So the exact same thing what we're going to do with data is we go from my chart data sets, and then to data. And here this is an array, so that will be easy as well. Same story. what we're going to do, we can copy almost everything here, and the only thing what we're going to adjust here is data. Alright. And then what we want to do, because we're going to adjust only the label here, we also want to adjust this item here. So what we're going to do here, and this is specifically with the label as well, we have to change the inner text of our item here, which is img text. Alright, so we're going to copy this img text. And then we say here, we will say here document dot query selector, and then here, because this is a string, because we're going to put in here the class. So basically what we're saying here, we're going to search for a specific query or element with this name, dot image text. Right? That's a class name, image text. And once we find this, we say dot inner text, not inner HTML. Inner HTML can be more sensitive, so don't use it unless necessary. Equal label, because label is the value of the text here. So once we save this, we're not done yet, because now we need to trigger this, and we need to do as well one more thing before we do that. My chart.update, which is the command to update the chart.js. Alright, so once we have this, we need to now figure out how do we trigger it. So what we're going to do here is we say my chart, and this will be an on-click trigger. On-click on the moment we click on these here. Alright, so we go up here and we say here on the LI, not on the image, on the LI. Why? Because you might have some padding or margin around this, so that you need to, if you would only pinpoint the image, so if you're not clicking on anywhere within the margin or the padding, it will not trigger. So we need to make sure, so it has to be really pinpointed on the image. So I don't want it, I want if you click within the area, as you can see, our image is also being triggered when we are very nearby to it. Basically you could do this. If you would have padding around it, it would be triggered as well. So what we want to do is just to make sure that if ever we click on something else, it still works, or in the area, if you have the padding. So we say here on click, then change chart as the function name, and then we have here these parentheses, and then what we put in here is basically the label name. Remember, we have the label and then we have the data. So the label will be here, Costa Espresso, and then we say here the data will be these numbers here. Paste it in here, there you are. Alright, that looks beautiful. And then what we do as well is we're going to copy this all and do it one more time. Paste it in here, paste it in there. So we have this one. This one, Costa, will be Costa Latte. If you remember, this was latte, and this one will be vanilla latte. Vanilla latte. All right. And then here we can also put in here, for example, these are the sales of the vanilla latte, and this was new. And then as you, just a minute. So we have these numbers. Sorry, I was just being disturbed, so sadly I just paused the video. So we put in here some numbers, let's say 20, and then 22, and 32. And then we have next here the other one, we say 1, and this is the vanilla latte, it's 9, 3, then we say 7, and this is 4, and 9. Alright. So once we have this, we click on this, and then it should work and respond. Let's refresh here, and then once we click on this, as you can see, this works beautifully. But we're still missing something, and the thing what we're missing right now is this item here. This should adjust as well, and the reason how it should adjust is simply by adding, or once we click on this, it should match the image. Alright, so what we're going to do here is to create a new function, and this function will be called change image, img. And this will just get the img link, which is the image. So what we say here is the following. So what we're going to do here is going to search. What are we going to pinpoint here? We have here the image. What we're going to do here is we're going to give it the class. I'll give it the class of Costa, or maybe drink. That's probably the more appropriate one. So we have here the image class of drink. Alright. So what we're going to do here is again document dot query selector. So what we're going to really do is basically say go and search any document for the selector name of .drink, the class .drink. And once we did that, oh, there you are. You can ignore that. Once you did that, then we say here source equal, then we say here img, meaning that we want to get the image link in here. So, and we will change it once we click on it. So we want to make sure we copy all of this. Say here, in our change chart, what I'm going to do is before that, I will click on that, or copy and paste this. All right. Put in here a semicolon, meaning that there's two functions working on here. And in here, we will get the source name. We can just copy this for now. Make sure that there's a single quotation here because it's a string. But here we don't get the thumb. Remember, we don't want to change the thumb. What we want to look here is, if we look at here, we have image 1. So we say here image 1. And then what we have for the others is image 2 and 3. Alright. We copy this. And we have it there. We have it there. And there you are. And finally, we have this one here. Put in here, number 3. Save this. Refresh everything. Alright. Click on that, and now you can see it starts to gradually change our cans of vanilla latte, and this is the latte, the normal latte, and finally we have the espresso. And you can see here the text also changed here. Let's double check here if the legend also appears correctly. So we can say here display true. Save this, refresh here. Now you can see a number of votes. Well, we can solve that one, but the moment we click on it, as you can see, we have now the matching one. So why is the number of votes? Well, we have this value here. So if you want to make this consistent, what you can put in here is just Costa Espresso. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first one. So if you refresh, Costa Espresso here and Costa Espresso there. And this is basically how you can do it. And if you want to just give this maybe a color, you can still assign a color to this. Let's see here. It can be updated, but we can also just add it in here as CSS. But let's do this based on our item here, the border color that we selected here. So what we want to do here is the following. Because if you would have maybe a different color, you could connect them as well. But for now, I will just do it very simple or straightforward. Oh, we cannot do it in the change image, but we do it in this part here. You can copy this. Then we say here, style dot color for font color, and then here, what's the font color? Well, we can get the font color here. So that's my chart dot, and then we have data dot data sets. Remember, it's 0 for index. And then dot, this is it the background color? No, it's not, it's the border color. The background color we assign to white. So we're going to put in here the border color. And now if we save this, refresh, right now it's still black, that's fine, but then when we click on it, you can see now it starts to change and it becomes a Costa red. So of course you can imagine if you have multiple colors here, you can start to adjust them and play around with them as well. So this is truly how you can use this. And if you have any questions about this line chart here and how to connect them all, or you struggle with it, put them in the comment section below and I'll make sure I get back to you. Thank you for watching this video and I hope you enjoy it. And if you enjoy this video, you probably will enjoy this one as well. And if you're interested in Chart.JS, check out in the description box the link directing to my Chart.JS course where you can learn everything about Chart.JS. And finally, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel.